Welcome back to Chateau, a great place to keep your LDAR data and a really cool place to work. We're talking about tours, and we're talking about how Chateau has been specifically designed to help maximize the effectiveness of the way you organize your components into tours to place them into handhelds. Let's look at another important feature. We call it Detector-specific tours. We have 132 M1 components. If you remember, that's your MMQ components, where you have to be monitored 2 consecutive months and not leaking and then go to a quarterly frequency. We have 132. In order to demonstrate this feature, we're going to change the maximum number of inspections to 40. Trying to change that to 40. Now, from the RIN attachment video that you've just seen, we don't really expect to get 40 components. In the same way, if you had 350 components in a tour, which is more typical, you would very rarely get exactly 350 components. Because of RIN attachment, you're likely to get 356 or 359 or perhaps 284, depending on what happens at the end of any group of components with respect to the RINs. But here we have 40, a maximum of 4, or a target of 40, and 132 components. So we would expect to maybe get 3 different tours. But we don't, Chateau knows something about these components that we don't know by looking at this queue. So let's see what Chateau knows, and let's see what Chateau does. We did get the 4 that we were expecting. And if we organize them by route sequence, it'll make sense to what we have. The first 38 components we have, which we didn't make it to 40, but you see they're PID components. All the rest of them are FID components. And what Chateau did was it identified the PID components and it began building tours for the PIDs as if they were the only components in this database. It sorted them by route sequence, and it began to use the rules that we had here, 40, in order to create this tour. If you'd had more than 40, you may have gotten 2 PID tours. And as soon as it had created all of these detector-specific tours for PIDs, then it began to do the work on the FID. You got 42, you got 46, and then you got 6, because Chateau only takes RIN attachment to the end of a RIN, and you can see these are all on one RIN. It would be a very easy thing for us to do, to come and get these components and mark them and move them to the one right above it. And now we have just created a very reasonable expectation of what the technicians are going to look at. 38 components in this tour to use PNID, and since the handheld knows what kind of analyzer the technician is using, Freedom will prevent the technician from pretending to monitor those PID components with an FID detector. That's detector-specific tours, and we've reviewed being able to edit the tours quickly and simply. Thank you for exploring Chateau with us. The most important question is, how can we do this better